2 years ago, I made some videos about giving FE7 and 8 characters personal skills, as there's something the modern games do that are really cool ways to do gameplay and story integration. Well, now I'm doing it again for FE6, because Binding Blade has a ton of cool characters that are worth giving a lot of attention to. And before the video begins and you have any idea if you even enjoyed or not, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, because not doing so is very bad for your health.
There is no meme. This is just a threat.
Roy, Heart of a Lion. Allies within 3 spaces of Roy deal an additional 3 damage to their enemies. So, I'm not going to be able to fix Roy with just a personal skill. He has way too many flaws as a unit that, honestly, are so great that people will bring them up even when his name is just mentioned. So I figured I might as well try to give him a support skill rather than trying to fix his combat. Since you have to trudge him around anyway, might as well get something out of it. The idea is taken from his Lance support, where he talks about how it's important that he fights on the front lines with his men. So, did I make the boost too high? Maybe? But I'm a man of ideas, not a man of balance. You're lucky if even one of these skills is something that won't break the game. Marcus, Veteran's Eye. Allies next to Marcus gain +5 skill during combat. One of Marcus's main traits is that he's a mentor. His supports are all about him trying to guide the Pharaian Knights to take over for him when he retires. So the idea here is that his skill is him instructing those near him so they can fight better. And given how accuracy is a concern for some units, that could actually be a really big help. It also ties into how skill is his best stat in both Fire Emblem 6 and Fire Emblem 7. So all in all, I think it's a pretty good fit for him. Alan, First Charge. If Alan is the first unit to attack on a turn, enemies within 3 spaces of him lose 20 avoid. Alan believes that knights are the ones who have to lead the charge. They set the tone for the entire battle, and thus, how they fight is going to shape morale for everyone involved. So, his skill is designed to reward him for valiantly leading the charge, and thus striking fear into the heart of the enemy. Granted, this skill can be funny if the enemy is, like, right next to him, so his first attack is a mighty charge of no tiles, but hey, it still strikes fear, and that's what matters. Lance, Level-Headed. If Lance is the last unit to attack, allies within 3 spaces of him gain 20 avoid. Well, to be the yin to Alan's yang, Lance is the cautious type. He's well versed in battle strategy and is the analytical sort. So his skill's idea is that he's taking in the battle, making notes of how the fighting's been going, and building his strategy around it. Having Lance and Alan be 2 sides of the same coin is fitting for them, and so, Lance is rewarded for having basic human patience, something that a lot of gamers do not comprehend. Me included. Walt, Eager to Improve. Every time Walt levels up, another random stat increases. I'ma be honest with ya, I looked at Walt for longer than any character, trying to come up with a skill for him. It's not like he doesn't have a theme in his supports, he's always trying to improve himself, by learning Alan's strength, learning Lance's intelligence, learning Sue's horse. So in the end, I decided to have it affect his levels, an in-game way to reward him for his hard work. Will it make him good? Hell no. But will it make him usable? Hell no. But will it... Merlinus, Panicked Escape. Merlinus gains +5 movement if he was attacked during the enemy phase. I think Merlinus is the only unit in the entire series that I can just give 5 movement to and it's not absolutely broken. Like, Merlinus is a joke. The original Fire Emblem 6 acknowledges this, his appearance in Fire Emblem Heroes acknowledges this, Merlinus is a silly old man. So why not? Why not let him zoom around at 11 movement every turn? Maybe there's some strategy involving this that can maybe make something happen? I don't know. I just think Merlinus is goofy, so I gave him a goofy skill. Ellen, Calming Presence. Allies within 2 spaces of Ellen gain 5 hit and avoid. Ellen was tricky. I know this skill just reads as a basic healer girl ability, but it was hard for me to come up with a skill for her. Her supports are mainly about her being nice, and beyond that, she experiences racism and has a fear of men. It's not really stuff I can make into a skill, or at least one that I haven't made into a skill already. So I did decide to give her the generic nice lady skill. Weak, I know, but hey, maybe you can come up with a better one, and then I can steal that and pass it off as my own, in the true American way. Dick, Pit Fighter. When Dick and his foe have no terrain bonuses, Dick gets +2 strength and speed. Dick is a former pit fighter. He's been killing people one-on-one in the arena for years. So, his skill is supposed to emulate that he's proficient in that kind of fighting, giving him a boost when he forgoes all that forest and fort bullshit and fights mano-a-mano. Dick is already one of the most powerful units in the game, so the skill really doesn't have to do too much for him, but it does help his speed a bit, which is a stat that can get a little dicey as the game goes on. Wade, Overwhelming Force. If Wade's strength is 5 or higher than his foes, his first attack is a 100% hit. Wade is the aggressive one of Dick's squad. His head isn't used for thinking, it might as well be a hat rack. All he is muscle. So his skill is rewarding him for having massive damage by making his first strike a sure hit. The idea of Overwhelming Force is really simple. You fucking dodge a freight train coming at you with a warhead on a stick. And the fact that this doesn't work on his follow-up attack is fine, because his speed sucks ass and he won't double anything. Truly a balanced skill. Lot, Quick to Worry. If Lot is within 2 spaces of an ally who's at half health or less, he gets +2 strength, skill, and speed. Because of Wade's constant lack of thinking, Lot has to do way more thinking than the average man, and this is manifested in him being a huge worrywart. So if he's near an ally that's in a bit over their head, his mom friend powers awaken and he gets a buff to his strength. This can synergize well with a whole slew of units. Being at half health is a problem, but for some units it's a way of life, so you can easily get some mileage out of it. Shauna, Hyperactive Focus. For each movement she uses before attacking an enemy, her hit increases by 5 for the next combat. Shauna lives to the beat of her own drum. She goes when she wants to go, and that often means flying really far ahead, much to the chagrin of Lot. So her skill is her charging in heroically, getting a super sure strike in for how much she was allowed to stretch her own wings. It's always satisfying to fly through half a map and fucking obliterate someone before they even know what hit them. So this skill helps her do just that. Chad, Child Protector. Chad gains +2 strength for each child unit deployed with him. Those being Lou, Ray, Faye, Kath, and a 5th one I'm almost sure that I forgot. Chad's main goal is to feed the children. Everything he does is for the kids back home at his orphanage, even though he's just a kid himself. So the idea is the more youngins that he has to protect, the stronger his desire to protect them grows. Considering he gives up thieving as an adult and never even wanted to be a thief in the first place, I thought giving him a skill relating to thieving wouldn't really make much sense, so I think this is a good fit for him. Lou, Cheery Kid. If there were 3 allies within 2 spaces of him, Lou gets +2 magic. Lou, like Ellen, was tough for me because his main character trait is just being nice. Now don't get me wrong, Lou is still a good character, but he's one of those that opts for simplicity rather than complexity, which means there's not enough to him to really stand out. So I thought, hey, he's surrounded by friends, he should be more powerful, because he is a social butterfly, especially in contrast with his brother Ray. Maybe I could have done something a bit better, but I think this still works for him. Patreon, giving me money. By continuously badgering my viewers, they will eventually relent and subscribe to my Patreon. At least, that's the dream, ain't it? I would like to thank my Patreon backers. Adebayo Thompson, Andrew Crockett, Benz Again, Clockwork 9000, Dr. McBackstab, Elizabeth, Fire Emblem Lord, Hell on Heelys, Ichigo D. Camus, Jaeger, Guts, Kenpachi, Shiro, Uzumaki, Kyrie, Mato, Kratos, Char, Ansible, Frederick, Sirius, Pulsara, Hakumen, The White Void, Jespacito 2, Lysevening Bolt, Neverix the Tourmaline Project creator, Shen Lu, Steph D, Tato, the world's most unironic 8.5 tail stand, Walmart greeter, Your Girl Owen, Nintendo 11, Drew Hack, Ginger, Gugu Gaga, Cornelia Milkers 92, Max the Knife, and Upscale Furry Trash. Thank you all for your continued support, and let's get on to the next skill. Clarion. Prim and proper. If Clarion has full HP, she gains 2 speed and luck. Clarion's main trait is that she's a spoiled brat, but the question is, how do I weaponize Angelica Pickle's energy? The idea is she's better off when she's unscathed and doesn't have a speck of dirt on her, and the skill naturally synergizes with herself because the speed and luck just make her dodge more often, so the girl who's naturally pretty damn hard to hit just becomes even harder to hit. Rutger, Precision Strike. Rutger gains 1 strength for every 20% crit chance that he has. Rutger's a unit who doesn't really need much help. He could honestly get no skill at all and still be a top 5 unit in the game. His main character trait is that he was in a genocide, and that's not something I can really make into a skill, unless I gave him a buff against burn, but that's every enemy in the game, so it's just a flat strength buff with extra steps. So I decided to give him a skill that synergizes with his swordplay, in order to give it a more unique flavor, even if it doesn't have really that much to do with his backstory. Saul, Special Sermon. Women healed by Saul gain 3 defense and resistance until their next turn. Do I even really need to explain this one? Saul's the womanizer of this game, so his horniness means women get special treatment from him. And women in general greatly appreciate defense buffs. Frontline fighters like Shauna and Echidna can be pretty fragile, so free bulk is nothing to turn your nose at. Though this skill technically working on Kath or Faye leads to uncomfortable implications that I frankly just shouldn't bring up. Damn it! Dorothy, Sworn Protector. If Dorothy is adjacent to an ally, she gains 1 strength, skill, and speed. Dorothy's job is to be a bodyguard, but what is a bodyguard without a body to guard? So for being adjacent to an ally, she's protecting them and thus gets stronger for doing so. Not a complicated ability, but one that makes sense for her character. The only other thing I could have done is give her a skill that lets her attack Saul. There would be absolutely no benefit to the player, but it's what she would have wanted. Sue, Lover of Nature. Sue gains plus 10 luck on natural terrain tiles. Sue's skill is very similar to what I came up with for Lyn, fitting as the Sakaean culture is all about being one with nature. The boost to luck would make her nigh impossible to hit, and thus invincible on outdoor maps. The skill would do nothing indoors, of course. Pillar isn't exactly the terrain for a nature lover. But hey, there are enough maps outside that I think this could get some serious mileage. Zealot, Knight Commander. Cavalry units within 3 spaces of Zealot deal 2 more damage in combat. Zealot is a famous Knight Commander. The dude literally becomes the first king of Ilia after it becomes a mercenary kingdom. So the idea is he's elite at commanding cavalry, which does become kind of funny to imagine him bossing around Marcus or Percival, but still, he inspires those under his command to be their best selves, and his skill is a reflection of that. Trek, in his own world. Trek gains 20 avoid if no allies are within 3 spaces of him. Trek is a man after all of our hearts. All he wants to do is relax and take a nap, but society is crumbling around him instead. But since I gave the sleeping skill to Ford in the FE8 video, I decided to go more with the idea of Trek just existing in his own world. As in, his supports, he never really changes how he acts, He's just good old Trek, regardless of if he's talking to Noah or Meridi or Gonzalez. So when he's just by himself, his skills get enhanced. Noah, Lonely Knight. Noah gains 20 hit when no allies are within 3 spaces of him. Noah is a lone wolf, but unlike Trek, who's just in his own world, Noah's more so by himself by his own choice, and as a lone wolf, he fights better when he's by himself. Simple to understand. I also designed these skills knowing Zealot has negative synergy with them. My idea was that Zealot's buff on damage is overall more useful, with the idea being that he brings out the true potential of his squad. Astolfo, Elite Spy. Astolfo can move again after opening doors, chests, or stealing an item. However, he can only wait with this action. Astolfo is a spy. A drunken, depressed mess of a spy, but a spy nevertheless. So the idea is that he can do his sneaky beaky spy business and then dart away to safety, all without risking a single counterattack. Unlike Chad, the thief class is on him because that's what he wants to do, so I decided his skill should make him damn good at it. Lelina, Sociable Lady. Lelina gives all allies within 5 spaces of her +5 critical avoid. Lelina likes making friends, so her skill is based around her being super friendly and just making everyone better off by her presence. Her 2 main character traits are liking Roy and being too trusting. I was reading her 10 supports trying to find something to make into a skill, until I realized the fact that she has 10 supports in and of itself is something noteworthy. And so, here we are. Alright, this is going to be a threefer. Boars, Shield of Ostia. Boars gains 3 defense and resistance if Barth or Wendy is deployed, +6 if both are. Barth, Spear of Ostia. Barth gains 3 strength and skill if Boars or Wendy are deployed, +6 if both are. And Wendy, Future of Ostia. Wendy gains +2 to all non-health stats if Boars or Barth are deployed, or +4 if both are. The Armor Knight trio, more so than any of the game's other groups, believes and fights with each other. The theme for Boars and Barth are in their support. Bars became an Armor Knight to protect what he holds dear, Wendy, while Barth became one because he believed them to be the best at one-on-one combat. Which, sure, Barth, sure. And Wendy is constantly training so she can live up to Barth and Boars' example, so their skill is to buff them as a joined unit. Now that many points to stats sound broken, but the problem is you would have to be deploying all 3 armors to get the full effect, which really I could give +10 to all of their stats and that probably wouldn't be worth it. I'm taking the Yu-Gi-Oh approach of making the most busted, broken card, but saying you have to be using a shitty deck for this to work. If it's good enough for Yu-Gi-Oh, it's good enough for me. Ojir, Not Too Flashy. Ojir can attack an enemy with +3 strength and speed at the cost of reducing his crit chance to 0. Ojir fights for money for his family. He's a simple man with simple goals. So his skill is about simple efficiency. He won't be doing any fancy crits, but he will be doing consistent damage. Perhaps it's uninteresting in some ways, but it's reliable and effective. A perfect skill to sum up Ojir. And that does it for the first bunch of skills for FE6. The second half of the roster will come out at a later date, and thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. If there are any skills you really liked, thought I didn't do that good of a job on, let me know. Please. I love hearing comments. And so does the YouTube algorithm god, so hey, you're doing us both a favor.